Hello.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
You're our first guest and we are honored to have you here.
Well, thank you for having me.
Mm.
Yeah.
So for those who might not know her name is Yvonne Mora.
Yes.
What else do they need to know about you?
Well, I think my name is okay for now.
Mm.
Yes. I'm an actress too.
I've known you for how long?
7 years now.
It's a very long time.
Yep.
Well, the name of the podcast is The Last Take.
Mm-hmm.
And the purpose of the podcast is to have a conversation because I believe that we live our life or our lives, if you believe in more than one life. Mm-hmm. Our life comes out in cycles and in phases. So far, what is the one thing that you'd say has defined you? And if this was your last phase, what is the one last thing you'd want to do before you go to the next phase or before you come to the end of your life?
What's the one thing I'd want to do?
Yes.
About the thing I think that has really defined me till this present moment is that period from college, the time I was out, I wasn't really doing anything. That was the most defining moment for me because at that point I can say I hit rock bottom and everything that I knew was kind of just, stripped away. And it's almost like I started afresh. And
what is it that you knew at that point?
Like when you come out here, there is so much waiting for you. You're going to have a job, like I had everything planned out. I'm going to get out of college. Because I went to medical school, you'd think you'd, be having a job after you finish school. So I knew immediately I finished school, I'm going to come out here, I get a job, start dating someone, maybe get married and then, build just myself
So
from
you
there.
did not date someone?
Well, it was more complicated than that.
What is complicated about dating?
When you're dating in college and when you're dating out here, it's very different. Because when you're dating in college, it's more like you guys are just having a good time. You're having fun. You're telling jokes and going out, basic stuff. Just, how can I don't know if I'd call it basic companionship. It's very basic. There are no expectations. There are no expectations. You don't expect this person to invest. You don't expect this person to, do all these things that, adulting requires. It's basically like you exist in my life and I love you or I like you this way.
Your work is to make me feel good.
Exactly. So it's a feel good moment. So it's very carefree.
So that changes after college? After
college, you're out here and then reality hits. Like now, my parents are not really supporting me because how do I start asking for money for basic things when I am done with college? I am supposed to be doing something with my life. Either try to get a job, volunteer somewhere because when you go to medical school, there is that volunteering in hospitals so that you get a chance and stuff. But then you come out here and then you realize, wow, okay, there is this. And then there's this guy who's constantly talking to me. Why is he talking to me again? It's not making sense anymore.
Help me understand. Mm-hmm. So when you're in college, basically your parents are taking care of you. Mm-hmm. So your job is just to have fun.
Yes, your job is just to look pretty and have a good time, go to class.
Everything else is taken care of. If you need something. So, Mom. This issue of expectations. Mm-hmm. So when now you're not in college, you're out here, what are the expectations? For example, what are your expectations or what were your expectations now when you were not in college from a partner or someone you were dating?
They expected me to make time because it happened that at that point in time we were in different cities because we were together in college and then we came out here. So I came to Kisii and he stayed where he stayed. So there was that because our relationship required you know, meeting, going for dates and stuff, like, because we're in the same country, literally. So you can't call that like long distance in a way. So it was like, you know, you have to make time, come here, you know, and stuff like that. And it was very stressful because at that point I was insanely broke, like broke, not like broke with a Q, the cute kind. It was madness broke, like depression broke, you know, I don't deal well with brokenness. So
I think I can relate with that.
Exactly. So I at this point I am struggling to stay afloat. And then there's this person who wants me to, I don't know, express love and show up for dates. And I'm like, I cannot do this. If I'm going to come see you, I have to save money to come see you. And it makes no sense because that's not an investment. You know, and I'm out here, I'm required to do certain things for myself. I'm required to, you know, get myself a job, start buying myself stuff, because even your wardrobe changes after college. Mm-hmm. You're coming out here, you're supposed to go for job interviews, you're supposed to do these things, you're supposed to buy, you know, all
expensive
this.
Looking
exactly.
things.
And I've been wearing shorts and tiny dresses and stuff like that, things I cannot actually actively wear out here. Mm-hmm. And this person is out here also wanting attention and all these things
So you are getting into a space where you're supposed to be more serious about the relationship, mm-hmm. but then you are mentally not in the space mm-hmm. to show love, to express love, because you are
I am personally struggling. Yes, I'm struggling with everything because everything is happening like at once, like, you know, like very fast. I don't have time to process a lot of things because when you get out of college and you graduate, graduation is always nice. People are saying stuff to you and all these promises, oh, you know, these things.
Conquer the world now.
Exactly, you know, and they're telling you all these nice things and making a party for you. And you think, you know, everything is going to be perfect. Like,
and then once you get this other side, they tell you, chill out.
Exactly. And what was very frustrating for me was at that point, the person I was dating was, I tried to talk to him about how I'm stressed out. I do not have a job and I feel like I'm not doing anything with my life. I feel like, you know, like, I feel like I have no purpose and it's eating me up. And they would minimize that. Like, I don't think you should feel that way. You should just relax. Chill. And you're a girl, you know. Girls don't have to worry about things like this. You can still be in your dad's house until, like, I don't know, 27, 28, and no one would worry about that. You know, you're not a boy, so you shouldn't be going through this. You shouldn't be thinking about what you're thinking about.
Do you think they had a point?
They didn't. Because you don't have a right to minimize anyone's feelings. It doesn't matter how you feel about it.
Is it possible that girls don't need to work as hard as boys need to?
It is very possible. It's not even possible, it's a fact. But then it's very relative. Like, there are some spaces where girls have to work twice as much just to get the same recognition as boys. But there are also spaces where society is more lenient on girls than it is on boys, like staying in your dad's house. I can stay in my dad's house, like right now, you know, no one asks me stuff. There are those weirdos like aunts who will ask you why you're not married and stuff like that. But basically, my dad would not mind me being in his house right now.
And then from a man's perspective, even at that age, immediately after college, I can also remember that now that the person I was seeing at that time, they were not in college, so they were not being taken care of by their parents. It meant that they needed to be taken care of, and they expected me to step in. But we just graduated at the same time. I'm also hustling. I'm also trying to survive. And I didn't have the luxury of, I can go and stay with my dad. You know, I'm supposed, so I had more expectations for me, both from my girlfriend and from my family. Actually, the family which is supposed to take care of you for that period. They're like, we will share Maliza Shule. Now it's your turn to take care of the younger one. So what's happening? Umetafuta kazi, you know. And I think that puts a lot more pressure on the boy to take care of the girl and the family.
Well, that's true. But in some scenarios, it happens that even girls are faced with the same challenge, because now the parents have sacrificed a lot for you to be done with school, because we do have this thing where you're supposed to give back. Like, we did this so that you can be able to help us here. And then you're done with school and you realize, I'm not able to do that. And these people are still struggling. You know, I'm supposed to be able to help at this point, but you are not able to help. And that kind of just eats at you, like watching that happen every day. And you're like, I'm literally a graduate. I have a license. I should be doing something with my life. Like, you know.
And I was taken to school so I can
do this. Like, that is already at the back of your mind. That is something you've always known. But then it doesn't hit you as hard when you're not done with school, because you're like, see, I'm still in school. So, you know. But then when you're done with school, you wake up every morning, you see your mom, you see your dad, and then, you know, you're just rotating up
and then you remember how the stress they had to go through.
Exactly.
To put you through college, especially. And yeah, I think I can relate with that, and I do understand that. And I like the South Africans call it black tax. So and I think this affects very many people. I know people who have gone into even being suicidal because of such expectations from their families, and just being frustrated and stressed because they are not able to live up to the expectations of their family. Especially, you know, some people go through very expensive courses, and maybe they come from not so well off families where people sell land to take you to school. People sell property. Like, I know people who like had large like plantations of tea plantations, some trees or land, and that gets sold so you can get into college because you're studying law or kwanza law people, you know, or be a doctor or something. And someone I'm thinking about right now went through medical school, and then I think in the third year he decided, I really don't want to be a doctor anymore. You know, and then he had to go and start, you know, a new course. And so he was in school for almost 8 years. And at the end of it, he was still struggling to get a job. And that can really drive someone into a very bad space, mentally and psychologically.
It's draining and frustrating, because you get to a point where you realize there's actually not much I can do. Like, in terms of, you can try applying for jobs and stuff like that, but you have no control over the process. You have zero control. And the little control that you try to have is, how can I say? You know, where you have someone, you know, who can connect you to a job. That's a bit of control, right?
The Kenyan way.
Exactly. But then this person has expectations like, nipe nikupe, you know, like, you know, you do this for me and I do this for you, you know. So it's not a free world, you know. And then you realize this is actually something that actually happens in real time. It's happening to you, and you didn't think this was possible. You thought, you know, maybe this happens to people who don't have papers. This happens to people, you know, who haven't really worked hard in their life. So they have to take shortcuts. But then you realize, I'm very qualified for this job. I deserve this job, but I'm not going to get this job because there's something I need to do, maybe give someone some amount of money. Because I remember there's a point I was applying for a job and someone asked for 400,000 shillings. And in my head, I'm thinking, if I had 400,000 shillings, why would I need your job?
And probably they're going to pay you a salary of like 30 Gs or 50 Gs max.
Precisely. And it's not even a permanent job. It's a contract for 3 years. And I'm like, wow, this is just madness. Like, this is insane.
So I think it's possible that they didn't really need you to give them 400,000, but they were trying to communicate something.
Communicate, but yeah, you know, I like adults to communicate.
How long has it been since you left college?
I left college in 2018.
Those are like 4 years?
Yep.
So between the first couple of months, and now, what have you learned about school, work, and life in general regarding everything that you just talked about?
What I have learned is that school is important, but it's not as important as you think it is. Like, you need to go to school. That's because there is something, I call it kuna jinga fulani inatolewa na darasa. Even the way someone communicates, you can tell this person has gone to school and this hasn't. Even from the way they articulate, even the way they reason out things, you can know this person has had exposure because they have stayed around people from different backgrounds and they get to understand a few things. And another thing is, no one owes you anything. Literally, no one owes you anything. I left school thinking that, I have uncles in high places and they should get me a job. They should be able to, put in a good word for me. They should be able to do this and that. And having that mentality that someone owes you something just because I'm done with school, I deserve to get a job and stuff like that, put me in a very bad place, like a really, really dark place. Until the point where I realized, like, really no one owes me anything. Like, people have achieved so much more than I have, and they are still struggling. People have done way better courses than I did, and they are still at points where they are having, a really hard time. So I have no right, to be thinking that someone owes me something because I went to school or because I'm related to them. And the only person who really owes me anything is myself. So when I got to that space where I accepted things as they came, instead of trying to control situations that were way, like, insanely out of my control, I got, I think, peace. I would say I got peace. Yes. And I stopped looking for a job. I literally stopped looking for a job in nutrition. And I decided to focus on something that I was good at. So then I became, the actress that I have.
Omosani.
Omosani, yes.
How has that been working out so far?
Well, I can say it has been great. Let me just say, coming back into this space helped to center me. Like, I was all over the place. I was trying to do this, that, and like a lot of things all at once. And when you do that, you burn out. But when I came into this space of being an actor.
Let me ask, what does acting mean to you?
It's everything. Acting allows me to be myself in ways that I cannot even be able to express. In person,
It's a very strange thing to say because acting literally means pretending.
I know. But
then you become yourself by not being yourself. That's weird.
Yes. I can be able to live out scenarios that like tell stories about other people's lives, literally living other people's lives, but making it my own. How I process this is I'm very introverted in person, extremely, some may say, like stuck up kind of. So I don't get to do a lot of things.
I might have an opinion on that, but I'll keep it for later.
So I don't get to, do a lot of things that people do. I don't get to be out there a lot. My life is pretty much, one thing or another. Like I'm either at work or at home. Like there's nothing else there. But then when I'm on set, I get to be all these other things. I get to be this person that I look at and I'm like, wow, you're so extroverted. It's weird. Don't you get tired? I get to be that person and then be another person and another person. And I get to live out all these things that I cannot normally do in a setup where I am living my actual life, because my personality limits that in a way that if I went out, I start staring like, when are we leaving? Why are we still here? And I'm thinking like someone is talking to me, and in my head I'm going, why is this
How is
person
it that
talking
when
to
you're
me?
acting it, you actually enjoy it, but in real life you don't. I've never understood that about actors, and it's not just you. I've had a conversation with many actors, and I get the same impression that most of the very good actors are actually very socially awkward.
Yep.
But once they step into that zone of now we are acting, even just the confidence and the ability to communicate totally changes, and they're able to be very fluent, even just being alive in that zone. I've never understood that about actors. How can you explain that to someone who's not an actor? That you are able, for example, I know that you're not a party girl as a person, but you can enjoy a party scene and really look forward to it.
Yes.
And so how is it that you're able to enjoy that, being in that character who is not connected and who is totally different from who you are as a person?
Because I don't have to do it all the time. It's very controlled. It's something I know at the back of my mind. I'm just going to do this for 20 minutes. I can go back to myself. I don't have, it's almost like enjoying the fruits of something without really planting the tree. Like I can just
without dealing with the consequences.
Exactly. Like I don't have to work on everything that involves this, but I can get to, like, I can literally reap from that point there. I go to that point, I take what I want from that, and I can go back to myself like nothing ever happened, and there are no consequences, zero.
So, for example, if you were to act as a prostitute, you would be very comfortable acting as a prostitute because you know someone is going to say cut.
Yes.
And this person, I don't have to live with the consequences, the actual consequences of having to sleep with some old man or some funny-looking human being.
Exactly. I'm going to be able
so
to...
you enjoy the thing.
Yes.
That's very interesting.
I think it's a privilege because not very many people get to do that. Not very many people get to live out other people's lives.
Because I have also noticed about many actors, they always look forward to doing the awkward stuff, the illegal stuff, the wrong things. Like people look forward to acting as drunkards, as smokers, some evil people. Like when someone gets given like a bad guy character or a bad girl character, they enjoy it more than actually just being nice people.
Exactly.
And doing the nice
things. Because you're nice every day. There's nothing fun about that. But then there's this scenario where you can be awful, you can be mean. And let me just say that we all have these aspects of ourselves, because no one is totally good or totally bad, But in our lives, we live out ways where we decide, you know what, I'm going to be this nice person, or I'm going to be this mean person. So you decide that in my life, I'm a nice, I'm a nice guy. I'm nice. But then you're given this role where you are able to be mean, and there is a part of you that wants that needs that. Like it's almost like an outlet for these other versions of you
that is suppressed because the law does not allow it. My family wouldn't approve. So now you find an outlet for you to live out your fantasies. Oh, God.
Exactly.
Actors are messed up. Okay, that aside. So there's something that I was trying to connect about, again, going back to the, to the intent of this show, is what have you learned? And so you went through college, but then you went into acting and you found peace there. That's what you said. So what did that teach you? Really, what has that taught you so far?
You take the cards that you're dealt and you make the most of it. Doesn't matter what it is. There's a reason why that exact card was dealt. Instead of questioning it and, using all this time trying to figure out why it was you, ask yourself, why not me? Like, this is it. I can either make the most of this situation or I can let this sink me. And the option of sinking wasn't one I wanted to, go with. It's not very lucrative. So I went for the other option, make it work for me.
How much of school do you think wasted your time?
A lot, like insanely a lot. Like even to begin with, I did not want to go to college to do the actual course that I went for. It was basically doing something because I knew it would make my dad happy, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. I've always wanted to be a chef, but my dad wanted me to be a doctorish person, like, my kid works in a hospital. It was very important for my dad, very important. So I was initially supposed to go for nursing. I refused. I am not very tolerant. So I was like, no, this one is going to be bad, going to end badly. So my dad was like, okay, since you want to be a chef and I want you to be a doctor.
There's an in-between.
There's an in-between. You can be a nutritionist. You deal with food, but you're a doctor.
But I can tell people you work in an hospital.
Exactly, because I do. So that's what happened. Okay. I went and I did nutrition, and it's something I love. I don't know if I would necessarily practice nutrition in a hospital because I am not a fan of hospitals at all. But nutrition and what it stands for, what it's supposed to do for people's lives is something I try to, live by, I can say. Because I'm very enthusiastic about fitness, eating right, and stuff like that, that. And I try to help those around me, like my mom and my dad, make sure they're doing good. Yeah.
There's something I always struggle with when people ask me if they should still go to college, if they should still listen to their parents, and at least, even if they're not interested, maybe someone went through high school and they've been selected to do some course in college, but they have this talent, and this talent is not being offered in schools, because in Kenya it's we have very few art schools, and most African parents don't think art schools are actually schools. They think that's where you just go to sharpen your hobbies when you already have a job or something. And so I always find people who tell me, I'm a musician, I'm a pianist, I want to do this, I play this, but I don't know where to go. And they want to know, should I even go to college in the first place, because I'm already talented? And it's always an awkward conversation for me to have, because first of all, I dropped out of every school except primary school that I joined. I think my primary school is the only school that I went through successfully. Ever since after that, I was always dropping out of every other school I went to because of the same thing, because I felt that it's not my place. Whatever is happening here, I don't think I'm supposed to be here. And I knew where I wanted to be, but there was no shortcut to it. So, I don't know what your suggestion will be. And also, I remember you mentioned something which I feel is very important for people to understand, that sometimes school really just teaches you how to think and how to process information and how to communicate with people, and not really to get you the papers to get a job, because that's a totally different arrangement. You can have all the most brilliant and the best set of papers and still not get employed. But school still is important because of just the mental processes that it takes you through and how it prepares you to know how to solve issues. Because most of them, even subjects and topics that we study in college especially, some of them are just meant to teach you how to solve equations, because x minus y is equals to 13 really does not apply in real life. Yeah. But then just being patient to handle something that is as irrelevant as x minus y equals to 12 just teaches you to be patient and just teach you how to reason out stuff. Yes. So it's I want to know what your opinion is, or what your suggestion would be about people going to school and people pursuing what they really want to pursue.
Well, first of all, I think everyone's journey is very different. Mm-hmm. There are people who took the route where they quit school, they focused on their talent, and they made it.
Yeah, I'm very curious because there's something that you mentioned earlier, that sometimes we go to school to learn how to think, how to process information, and how to communicate, which are, I think, the top three most important aspects for me about school. And also, of course, forming relationships with people, because most of the relationships I have, professional relationships I have, are with people I went to college with, even if they still went their own separate ways. But sometimes, they'll refer you to something because they know you were good at this, and then, when you need something, we were in the same class, but you were good with this aspect of it, and I need someone in that. So I think there's that aspect of school that, apart from giving you the papers or the certification to pursue or to look for a job, there's the other aspect of it which you can actually apply in real life. But then there are other people who argue, and it's a very valid argument, that sometimes school wastes people's time, especially people who are talented. For example, if someone is a good guitarist or a pianist or something, or an actor, they might feel that why will I be in school studying law when I know I'm going to be an actor? And society will tell you, you need a job, then you can pursue acting. So I'd like to know what your suggestion or opinion is on this, to someone like that, someone who is in that predicament.
Well, I think everyone's journey is very different. The sense that someone can decide, you know what, I'm not going through college, I'm going to pursue this, and it works out for them. And someone else can take the same route and they would end up failing. But one thing I believe in is that there's nothing wrong with having more in your arsenal to work with. Because being an actor and still being a doctor won't hurt you. If anything, it would work in your favor in some scenarios. And if you're working in environments like the one we work in, it doesn't hurt to have something that you can fall back on, literally. It's okay to have the mindset that, you know what, I want to give everything to this industry. I want to be an actor and I want to eat, sleep, wake up acting and stuff like that. Well, that's really nice to say, but is it, workable? Like on the ground, is this something you can actually do? Is this something that can actually help you grow as a person? Because apart from being an actor, there are things you want to achieve for yourself. There's a lifestyle you want for yourself. Is this acting going to be able to give you that? Or do you need to kind of, open up yourself to other possibilities? And thinking about what is there for you to work with. When you come from maybe a wealthy background, it's way easier for you to kind of decide, what?
Play around.
Yeah,
Let me do this in the meantime.
You go to college 1 year and then you're like, you know what? This is not what I want to do with my life anymore. I feel like, I want to be, I want to play piano. And you go and do that. Because there's this...
I think that's a luxury that only white people have.
Yes, and
that
some
kids can take time out to figure out what or very wealthy Africans
exactly
as well.
Which is not something a lot of us can be able to say, like, I can do that. I can't. I cannot. I will not lie to you.
But then again, something I think my journey since college up to now, one thing I'd say that I have learned, and it's something I think I know it's very hard to communicate to someone who is a lot younger, because I know if someone told me the same thing when I was a teenager, I would not have listened to them. And that is how fast time flies, really.
Yes.
Because when you are 16, 18, 4 years looks like a long time.
It does.
Then you come out here, you're busy looking for a job, and before you know it, it's 3 years now.
4 years.
4 years, and you still don't have a job. And I've asked myself this question a couple of times. I'm like, by the way, the period I was tamarking, if I went back to school, I will have studied for another degree. And then I'll still be here, but with now 2 degrees.
Yep.
Or with an extra experience in something. And I know especially people who need maybe it's different for us who work in the arts, but especially people who need papers, really. Like, for example, if you are going to work in an hospital, you need that certification. Or if you're going to be an accountant, or there are these kind of jobs where you must be certified or something.
Yes.
Instead of, or even teachers, instead of being home and saying you're waiting for the government to hire you, and they'll take 4 years, 5 years sometimes, to recruit nurses or teachers. If you are in a position to go to a small college and get an extra diploma, which will take you a year and a half, instead of, maybe of trying so much and spending so much to try to get a job, or frustrate yourself for not getting a job. I wish it's something that people could understand, that sometimes 3 years is not such a long time.
It is.
And you're still going to be 25 or even 30
Still broke.
and still broke. I know people who are in this house who are in the 30s and they're still jobless, But if you tell that to an 18-year, or let's say a 21-year-old, and tell them, this acting thing is still going to be here. Just take 3 years and go do a diploma, even 2.5 years most of these days. If you tell someone who is 18, go to school and get a diploma, then you can come back to acting, they are not going to listen to you. But I think that's one thing I can say with confidence, that yes, acting, I work in film, I support acting 100%. But if I had, and I think I do have a younger brother who is trying to get into this field, and I know he doesn't want to go to college for something else, but I feel that it's the right advice to tell him, just take 3 years to go and get that paper. At least when you have the support of the parents to pursue that. Because after that, when you get to 22, 23, you're going to struggle to convince anyone to support your education. But acting, you can even start at 25 and you'll be fine.
Yeah, people have started acting in their 50s and they've made it.
Yes.
So there's not really a time limit, because even if I wanted to be an actor, college has all these clubs for, stuff like you can still be, perfecting your craft while you're there, but, doing something else. But these 3 years are going to be time you are working on what you really want to do. So you get out here, you have a degree, and then you've perfected your skills.
Actually, come to think of it, most of the practice I got as a filmmaker when I was a lot younger, most of it was while being sponsored by my parents to do something else. Like I remember with a friend, the very first time we held a camera, we were supposed to be studying computer packages or somewhere. And, our parents were paying for us to be there. And this guy happened to have a camera. That's how we learned, cameras and computers and editing. And then same thing in college. I'm in college, I'm studying, and my parents are paying my school fees and for my accommodation. But me, I'm busy interning for free at some wedding studio, to study wedding coverage and stuff. Yeah, so I think it could be a good option, because dealing with African parents, because we still have a couple of decades before we have new age parents like Ron Muruka, to who can actually tell their parents, tell their kids it's okay to pursue whatever you want to pursue. So till then,
you go to college
and study that boring course.
Study that boring course.
But make time to
do what you really love, and just work on it, because you actually have time, literally have time.
Yeah, and that's another thing that people don't seem to understand, that we have a lot more time than we actually get to use.
Yep.
You can be in college and even take 2 degrees or 2 courses at the same time if you're really serious about it. Unless you're studying something weird like mechanical engineering. Anyway, and I don't know why people study mechanical engineering. Anyway, but we need them anyway. So as we come to an end of this, what is the one thing that you would like to leave for people, anyone else who would like to follow your footsteps, or for your younger sister or your younger brother, or a younger person who looks up to you, what's the one thing you'd like to leave for them that you think can help give them direction?
What do you think is important or what is good to say?
Both?
Well, one thing that I think is important for me to leave behind for people I care about are resources, by all means, in every sense. Assets, very important. When you have assets, you're able to live out your life way better in ways you want, not ways you need. So my one goal is to live that. And then there's also, this legacy where you I don't know. I don't know if a good name is something, but I name like something to say that I was here. Do things in my life that in years to come, someone will say there was someone here. Her name was this and she did this and she did that. And there's someone this moment in time who's having a better life or is, having this thing because of this person. Yes, that's the kind of person I want to be.
And what is the one thing that you'd say that life has been nice to you for? The one thing that you are utmostly grateful for from life?
Family. I have insanely supportive parents. You know that? I remember that when you came to Kisii and we were doing 254 films, and my mom she bought us a boom, right? Yes,
Yes,
a boom mic. She didn't even know what it was, but she bought it.
You guys need that? I don't know what it is, but yeah, if you need it, then I'm going to help you.
Yeah, so my parents are insanely supportive, and the family I have is very close. From my sister, she's insanely protective and stuff like that. So for me, that's the one thing I'm very grateful for, because there are a lot of things that I have been through that without my family, I don't think I would have been able to, make it through.
Okay. And for your acting, what will be your biggest achievement as an actor?
My biggest achievement so far is
What will be your biggest achievement?
what will be. Doing a movie in Hollywood. That would be my biggest achievement.
Every actor's dream, Hollywood.
Yeah, I know, Hollywood. Hollywood is the standard.
All right. I wish you the best, and I think you've got what it takes to get to Hollywood.
Thank you.
All the best. Thank you for being the first guest on this podcast, and hope to see you again.
You